And she like grabbed my ass. She was like, "Hey, sexy, how's it going?" I think they were trying to rob me, and I did magic for them. And they ended up tipping me.
Okay, that's insane. Yeah. You somebody tried to rob you, and you ended up getting money from them.
Yep. It was a good time. Yeah.
Meet Palle Bo, a full-time traveler and digital nomad from Denmark on an epic journey around the world. This is the Radio Vagabond.
Welcome to the season finale of the Radio Vagabond. This is the last episode of season 6, and in the true spirit of a great season finale, this one is extra long. First, we're going to Key West to visit Ernest Hemingway, or at least some of his 6-toed cats. And then we're going to Orlando, and that will be truly magical. My name is Palle Bo, and this is the Radio Vagabond, episode 204. Welcome to Florida. This episode is brought to you in part by Hotels25.com. Whenever you need a hotel anywhere in the world, go to Hotels25.com. That would get you the best price. Hotels25.com searches a bunch of the biggest hotel sites in one simple search. Hotels25.com.
This is the Radio Vagabond podcast.
Key West is the southernmost point of the United States. And as we talked about in the latest episode from Cancún, it's the closest point to Cuba. It's at the end of Florida Keys, a series of hundreds of small islands and more than 100 miles from one end to the other. The drive will take you roughly 2.5 hours, and you could actually make a day of it and stop at some interesting places along the way. Key West is probably the most happening place, famous for water sports, lively nightlife, beaches, historical sites, and its pastel, conch-style architecture. Walking around Key West is probably the best way to see it. You get to see some intriguing homes, courtyards, and gardens, and a good opportunity to enjoy an adult beverage, some great food, and live music. You can start at the center of town at the Key West City Cemetery, where you get a glimpse of Key West's past and its morbid sense of humor, as exhibited by gravestones that read, "At least I know where he's sleeping tonight," and "I told you I was sick." Duval Street, one of the most energetic strips of shops, bars, and cafes anywhere, and the famous Sloppy Joe's Bar, a Key West hangout of Ernest Hemingway, the famous writer who lived and did a lot of his writing here when he was not getting drunk at Sloppy Joe's. His home is now converted to one of the biggest attractions here, Ernest Hemingway Home and Museum.
If you say Key West, you have to say Ernest Hemingway. He lived here for a number of years, and his house is now occupied by, I think, 57 cats. And also it's a museum, and now I'm inside the building about to go on a tour, just waiting for the tour guide right now.
The thing about cats is very special. Ernest Hemingway was given a white 6-toed cat by a ship's captain, and some of the cats who live in the museum grounds now are actual descendants of that original cat named Snow White. Key West is a small island, and it's absolutely possible that many of the cats on the island are related.
All right, folks, my name's Rusty. I'm going to be your tour guide today. Welcome to the Hemingway Home and Museum. Guys, I do want to say one thing in the beginning. I always stay at the end of every tour for as long as it takes, answer all your questions to the best of my ability.
To see the house, the many cats, and the office where Hemingway did a lot of his writing was very interesting. But one of the more stunning and unusual features of the Hemingway home property is the in-ground swimming pool, an extraordinary luxury for a residential home in the 1930s, Key West. The final cost of the construction in $1938 was $20,000. Even more mind-blowing was the sheer labor of digging a massive hole in solid coral. The Hemingway pool, the only one within 100 miles in the 1930s, was truly an architectural feast. And Ernest did complain to his wife, Pauline, about the growing expenses of constructing this pool. The story goes that he was so frustrated that he threw down a penny on the half-built pool patio and said, "Pauline, you spent all but my last penny, so you might as well have that." And now there's a penny embedded in the cement at the north end of the pool to memorize Ernest's outburst.
So, Rusty, you're an Ernest Hemingway expert.
Aficionado, I would call it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you told me that you read every single word he's written, and I've never read any of his book. I just know about him.
Okay.
And
like a lot of people.
Yeah. What do you suggest that me and some of the other people should start with? What's a good entry point to Ernest Hemingway?
Well, I mean, a lot of people would say The Old Man and the Sea, probably his most famous and well-known novel. They teach it in the high schools.
Yeah.
Some high schools nowadays, they always used to teach it. And American high schools are just, bad when it comes to teaching good American literature. But where I'd start? I would start with The Sun Also Rises, his first novel. Okay. It's a wonderful recapitulation of his time in France and Spain. It's just a wonderful novel based on real people that he met. Very readable.
Yeah.
Of course, I love To Have and Have Not, the one that takes place down here in Key West, the only one that does. Sloppy Joe Russell, his good buddy, makes an appearance as the barkeep and the boat captain. So a lot of the people he knew down here make appearances as characters.
Yeah.
So it's really just a great book.
Yeah. And he lived many places around the world. He was in Paris. He was obviously in Cuba for a long time. And
all throughout Europe, traveled, skied everywhere. Was in China with Martha Gellhorn, his third wife. Yeah. All over the United States. Yeah. An amazingly traveled man.
And I feel that this inspires me a lot. Do you think it was the same for him, that all the traveling made him the really talented and extraordinary writer?
Absolutely, because he was, remember, first and foremost, Hemingway was a journalist. He wrote about what he observed and what he saw. So his novels followed suit. He wrote about experiences that he had. And so all of his travels gave rise to a lot of his novels. Sun Also Rises, of course, his time in Paris, For Whom the Bell Tolls, his experience in Spain during the Spanish Revolution, The Old Man and the Sea, experiences in the Caribbean and Cuba, Bimini, and here in Key West. So yes, without this traveling, I don't think he would have been as prolific as he was.
And besides what he's suffering from bipolar and all that, he was a womanizer. He liked to party. It's the kind of impression that I get from him.
Well, it's not an impression. It's an actual fact. And he didn't try to hide it either.
No.
Now, of course, all the drinking, one could argue, was a little bit of self-medication for his bipolar. But it was also part of that whole society, starting in Paris, heavy drinkers, all of them, and continued down here. It's just a tradition down here in Key West. Our favorite motto in Key West is, we don't have a town drunk because we just all take turns.
So you can't say Key West without saying Ernest Hemingway.
Right.
I feel that when you're in Key West, it's a must to come here. Can you just, in a few words, tell the listeners what will they expect when they get to this house and museum?
Sure. The Hemingway home is exactly preserved from the time that he lived here in the 1930s. Of course, his wife Pauline continued on and died in 1951. It became a museum in 1964. The most prolific writing time in his life. He wrote 60% of all of his great works here, so he's very inspired by the environment in Key West. So beautiful house, beautifully restored from as he lived here. His writing studio, exact same way as when he left Key West in December of 1939. Swimming pool put in by his wife when she got mad because he was cheating on her over in Spain. It goes on and on and on. Yeah. Plus 56 cats that are just adorable.
Okay, I read somewhere there are 57. Did you lose one in the corner?
Well, it comes and goes. So we have to change the number every couple of weeks.
Somebody told me that if you see a cat with 6 toes, that's a descendant of Ernest Hemingway's?
No.
Okay.
See, polydactylism, which is six-toedism, runs throughout all mammals. Humans can be polydactyl.
I had a dog like that.
Yeah. The famous actress Halle Berry had 6 toes on each of her feet. So it can run out. But around the world, as I understand it, polydactyl cats make up about 5% of the total cat population. Here at the Hemingway home, it's over 50%. Only because they've been continuing bred inside the property.
Okay, so you're just, if you see one of those toes, it's an urban legend that, okay, that's a descendant from...
Exactly. And people sometimes call them Hemingway cats. Well, it's because there are a lot of them here, but that's not really true. We just have a lot of polydactyl cats here.
Yeah, and they're spoiled rotten.
Oh, totally. Outrageously so.
Thank you so much for the tour. Now I'm going to wander around and see some more, and really enjoyed it. Thank you,
Russ.
Great having you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, great. Thank you.
And I can take anything you can throw at me, and nothing can get me down. Life is looking so bright, the sun is up again. I'm feeling like I could fly. No clouds in my way, no. And I'm living the good life. And I'm living the good life now. I'm living the good life. And nothing can get me down, no.
Florida is a big flat state, and another part of it attracts even more visitors, mostly because of Walt Disney World, Universal Studios, and the many other theme parks. When we come back, I'll take you there, and you get to meet Stefan, my Airbnb host, who's an amazing magician and a true entrepreneur. We'll be right back.
You can see pictures, videos, and links and read much more on the RadioVagabond.com. You can also send a few lines to Palabo and get featured on the show. Tell him where you are and what you're doing right now as you're listening to these words. Just click on Contact on theRadioVagabond.com and fill out the form.
Hi, I'm Stefan Oswald, and I am an Airbnb host, and I've been doing this for about 3 years, and I'm also a magician, so I perform at the Great Magic Hall, and I do about 6 shows a week right now. It's a fun time. I also rent cars, so I do a lot of things, but right now my main focus is building a hostel that will be in Orlando, and it'll have a restaurant and bar and a magic show and car rentals and bunk beds for a bunch of guests, so I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Well, the plan with hostels has been put on the back burner for now. Something called COVID-19 made the idea suddenly not so... let's just say the timing for a huge project like that wasn't perfect. Still, it might happen sometime in the future, and there's happened so much more since then. Later in this episode, Stefan will tell us what, because I actually just revisited him a week ago, and you're not going to believe all the crazy stuff that has happened, and the plans he has for the future. But now let's talk about traveling. When Stefan was younger, he traveled around in Europe and did street magic. And I was curious to know how that happened.
So I watched a lecture by a magician, Kaz Cosmo, who did this. He traveled around and he just did magic for a living. And I was like, wow, I could do that. That sounds amazing. That sounds fun. So I put a show together, and I went to DC and tested it out there, and it was successful. And then I bought
So we're talking on the street corner.
Yeah, well, actually, DuPont Circle is where I did my first show. Yeah. So that very first show was very successful, and it wasn't even a show. I wouldn't call it a show. It was just me trying to stop people, and then every now and then there would be a group of 4 or 5 people that would watch a few tricks. But it was still a very successful.
It's kind of like when I remember David Blaine going around stopping people on the streets, and
it felt very much like that. And then it progressed and it turned into more of a show where I had about 30 or 40 people watching, but not that first day. That first day it was bad. I made all the mistakes that you can make. I learned a lot from that, and it was just amazing because I put myself out there and I did it. But
at that time, had you already done magic for a time?
Yes, I had done magic. When I was in the Air Force, that's when I got into magic. So I was working the night shift, and I learned a couple of tricks, and then I was the guy making the announcements at the passenger terminal. So I made an announcement: all passengers desiring to see a magic show proceed to gate 4 at this time. And they'd come on over, and we'd do a magic show there. It was really just a couple of tricks, but it turned into a show within a week, like a nicer show. And then I did that for charity events and things, Red Cross, stuff like that. But I knew that I needed to do it on the street because it just seemed like the perfect way to travel. So I tested it out, like I said, in DC. I loved it. I had a great time. And then I bought a one-way ticket to Madrid, Spain, and brought only my show. And I think a change of underwear, maybe some sunscreen, and a toothbrush. And that's all I brought. No credit cards, no cash.
Not even a spare T-shirt?
No. Yeah, just what I had on me. I bought some clothes there after a couple of days, so it was kind of nasty.
So how much equipment do you need for the magic show?
It was at the time, it was one carry-on bag worth of stuff. So I had I had brought a few 6-minute shows, I guess. So instead of one larger show, I just brought a few things that I could turn into shows, and then I tested things out and saw what worked, and went from city to city doing that. So in Madrid, it was tough that first couple of days. I really needed super glue, and I couldn't afford it because my table broke on the way over, and that was the biggest challenge initially.
Doesn't really seem like that big of an investment.
Yeah, it was €4 for a thing of super glue, and I felt uncomfortable.
Some people might think, where am I going to sleep? What am I going to eat? But you were thinking, super glue. I need some super glue.
That's all I needed at the time, yeah. But once I got that super glue, I did card tricks. I just did card tricks until people gave me... I did card tricks for a half an hour, I think, to make those €4 to get the super glue. And then I had my show.
Once I got super glue, the show took off.
It's the truth. So I didn't know about couch surfing at the time. I was actually staying at hostels. But in the back of my head, I was like, wow, this would be really cool to run something like this. And I was thinking about all these ideas at that time. I was writing stuff down. I was like, oh, what do I love about this? What do I hate about this? So I stayed sometimes at hostels, sometimes just random beds that people would put me up on. So kind of couch surfing.
So when was this, and how old were you?
I was 23, 24, something like that. Yeah, it was after the Air Force, but before I was getting really serious about finishing up college. Yeah. So Madrid to Barcelona, and that's where the crazy stuff happened.
And then the crazy stuff happened. We'll be right back.
Hello, Radio Vagabond listeners.
Hey, we are big Palebo fans. Ideally, we're all on our journey, just like Polly, to a life we design. Whether you have kids or an empty nester, we invite you to check out our podcast, The Open Nesters.
Our unique podcast explores personal, intellectual, physical, sexual, and spiritual journeys of life as we reinvent ourselves at this stage of life we call Act 3. Palebo is an inspiring traveling nomad as this open nester, and you can hear him as we interview him on episode 10.
And if you like to hear from others who are writing Act 3 of their lives, please join us every week for a new episode, which is available on every podcast platform and on theopennesters.com. I'm Amir.
And I'm Tessa, and we'd love to have you with us on the journey. We feel certain it will also become yours. Visit theopennesters.com.
We're back. Just before the break, Stefan Oswald was telling us that he went from Madrid to Barcelona, and then the crazy stuff happened. Listen up.
All right, that's where the crazy stuff happened. I did street magic on Las Ramblas in Barcelona, and that is forbidden. You cannot perform on Las Ramblas. If you do any sort of performance on Las Ramblas, they will just chew you up. So because it's a pedestrian walk area, and there's so many people that immediately I had a crowd of 100 people watching me in like a minute of doing magic. And then I started to do the bigger stuff because I had so many people watching me, And then the police came and they busted up the crowd, and the crowd was like, no, we need to see the rest of the show, blah, blah. And they were starting to fight. And I was like, no, the show's over, that was the last trick.
You made the disappearing act.
Yeah, and I kind of made my disappearing act, but they told me I was forbidden from Barcelona, and they walked me over.
Not only from doing magic in Barcelona, but from Barcelona.
That's what they said. I don't know if it was a language thing, but they're like, you are forbidden from Barcelona. I was like, whoa, okay. So they like walked me over the train. Also in Barcelona, I stayed at this hostel, and there was this pub crawl, and it ended near the hostel, and I was walking home on Las Ramblas. So it just reminded me of this. On Las Ramblas, there was alleyways all over the place. And I was starting to walk down one of the alleyways to my hostel, and this girl came up, and she, like, grabbed my ass. She was like, hey, sexy, how's it going? And then 3 other girls, and then one of them, they were all prostitutes, but one of them, like, pulled out a wallet. Oh, I got your wallet. And I was like... And I could tell that they were trying to get me to reach for my wallet, so they knew where it was. But I was like, oh, my wallet's at the hostel. And then they stopped trying to... I think they were trying to rob me. Well, they were trying to rob me because one of them took my deck of playing cards. And then they like started to walk away when they realized that I didn't have my wallet, even though I did. I was just playing around. And they were walking away, and I was like, no, let me see that deck of cards. And they're like, all right, fine. And I did magic for them. And they ended up tipping me €5. I borrowed a €5 bill and floated it up to them. They're like, oh, you can keep that. Awesome, cool.
Wow.
So my would-be...
Okay, that's insane. Yeah. You somebody tried to rob you, and you ended up getting money from them.
Yep. It was a good time. Yeah.
Wow.
Just because... Yeah, I was in a great mood anyways, because of just everything that happened that day, and... Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun time. That was cool.
And from there, it was Paris?
Yeah, from there I went to Paris, and Paris was nice. Not quite as lucrative, I guess, as it could have. When I was in Paris, I stayed at a hostel that was very old, and the doors were all like messed up and stuff, and it just wasn't the best experience, I guess. I think it was because I was single and everyone else wasn't. And it was Paris. And that's really what it was. So I was doing magic for all these couples. So I learned a lot of good, like, romantic magic, bringing people together type magic, which was kind of fun. But at the same time, I was like, I felt a loon.
You were the crying clown.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that's what it was. So, yeah, I left Paris pretty quickly and then went up to Amsterdam. And that trip, so this trip where I did the solo magic, I just went up to Amsterdam as quick as I could and then did that for a month in Amsterdam. I did magic in Dom Square right there, and I met some amazing magicians who helped me grow as a magician, and they kind of like mentored me and stuff, and we all shared this pitch in Dom Square. And then I ended up doing more close-up magic where I didn't have to fight for the attention, I guess, that area, because these performers, they were jugglers and magicians and all sorts, they would get there early in the morning and draw like I forget how it was, like a lottery, and then you chose your time based on
because I guess some times are better than others.
Yeah, so you do that, and you basically do 1, maybe 2 shows a day there. And my show was so short that didn't make any sense to do it like that, because at the time I had a very short show. So I did that a few times, but then I would mainly go up near there on the way from the train station to Dom Square. That's where everyone walks by. Yeah. And it was a perfect place to do what I did. And I would constantly be performing and then constantly be doing shows, and I got a lot of experience under my belt from that. So that was fun. That was a good time. I had a lot of rejection, and I learned and grew from that, because that's what you get on the street. And people
exactly. That's what I'm thinking. That this whole trip must have been an extreme learning curve.
Definitely.
For you. Yeah,
definitely. And that's what I wanted. So that was cool. That was a good time. But at the very end, I was going from Amsterdam to Brussels, and I was flying out of Brussels. And so I earned enough to actually brought back some. It was pretty cool. But I everywhere I went, I earned enough to go to the next place and then would go do that. So the flight from Brussels was early in the morning, like 7 in the morning. So I was planning on just sleeping at the airport. But I met someone on the train station, and he had a couch surfing host who he was staying with. And
was that the first time you heard of the concept of couch surfing?
It was, yeah. And it was so foreign to me and so awesome. And his host came, and I had this smartphone that at the time nobody had really a way to talk if you weren't from that country. But I used Google Voice, and nobody else had Google Voice at the time. So he was able to contact his host using my phone once we got to the place that had Wi-Fi. Yeah. And so I just stayed with him to make sure he got there okay. And then his host came, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm just going to the airport. I'm just going to go fly out in the morning." He's like, "No, that's not okay. You're coming with me." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I got plenty of space." So I was like, "All right, cool."
You are listening to the Radio Vagabond, your guide to taking that first step towards living a more fulfilling and adventurous life. If Palabo can do it, why can't you?
He had like 12 Murphy beds in his... It was amazing, like loft that was the whole top floor penthouse, I guess, type thing. And he had all these Murphy beds, and he would just drop down as many as needed for whoever he was hosting. His wife had passed away a few years back, so he just needed people in his life, and that's what he used couch surfing for. And it was the coolest thing. He had all the best like cheeses and wines and beers and chocolates and all the Belgian things you could want all in his place, and we just shared and talked, shared stories, and played games, played Rummy Cub, the tile rummy game. Yeah, and it was awesome. It was an amazing experience. And at that point, I was like, okay, I know what I want to do someday. I want to make enough money to have my own place, and I just want to host people and be able to experience this all the time. Yeah. And that's why I started with Airbnb. I actually started on couch surfing. Nobody would stay.
Yeah, because now we're coming full circle. Now we're coming back again. Why you started? But before you tell that, when I had a house back in Denmark, I was hosting a couple of times. I was in the countryside, so I didn't get that many requests. But I did host a few times, and I really enjoyed it. And then I went on a 3-week trip with my daughters to the Netherlands and Belgium and France. Just talking about it now, but and we did couch surfing. And the first time I thought, okay, we were lucky here. We met some nice people. They want to talk, and they're smiling and open. And then the next one, oh, we met some nice people here. And it was every time I thought, oh, we're so lucky. But then it just dawned on me. People who put their house up or a couch up or a room up for couch surfing, that's the people who want. That's that kind of people. The introvert, the people who don't want to meet people, the people who don't want to talk. They would never do that. So that's why the whole couch surfing community is so amazing. It's really the good, open-minded, nice people that are on that platform, and that's why I so much enjoy doing it, and because I get to meet people. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and that's how I felt about it too. Because after that first experience in Brussels, I was like, "Wow, this is something else. This is so cool." And when I came back to America, I had my car, so I had a bigger show because I could fit it all in the car. And then I traveled around. Actually, couch surfed in 400 cities for a long time. Yeah, so I'd spend 2 or 3 days in each city. And just really have fun doing magic, but also explore the city and get to know the people. And
so you traveled all over the U.S.
Couch surfing.
How long time? And
it was every summer for three years, I guess. So it was while I was in school for software engineering.
Okay, so you weren't doing magic full time. You were still in school.
I was still in school. But during the summers, it was just couch surfing, magic, and exploring. And it was a fun time. And because at that point I knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted to be the host someday. So that's why I started taking extensive notes. Every place I went to, I wrote everything I loved about it, and the things I didn't, I would remember that so that I wouldn't have those things later on. And it was good. It was a good experience, and I was able to really see America for what it is. And I had traveled before, but not like that.
And then you got a place and put it on couch surfing, and then what happened?
Yeah, so I got a place. So I was living paycheck to paycheck. I was doing magic shows 16 shows a week. And I was in Orlando. It's hard to live here. Like, it's an expensive place to live. So I was renting a room in a house, and there were about 16 people living in this house, and there were only 2 bathrooms. And that was kind of tough. And I knew I needed my own space, and I needed to stop paying rent. So I did everything I could for a couple months. I searched for houses and everything, and then I found this condo, and I went for it. It was the hardest thing to do without a down payment because...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I tried to use the VA loan, and that didn't work, but eventually it all worked out. My sister helped co-sign, so that helped it work out. And then I got this place, and immediately 2 of the people that were living in that house, they wanted out of there too, so they just came with me, and they were renting the 2 rooms. And I put the couch on couch surfing, but nobody asked, nobody requested. And then one of the roommates was an Uber driver, and so I built a 150-inch projection screen. This one's 130. The one at the other condo, it's a 150-inch projector screen, and nice projector, 3D movies and everything. But right after I built that, this Uber driver would only play Grand Theft Auto on his PlayStation on that projector screen all day, like every day. He just stopped driving for Uber, so he couldn't pay rent. He couldn't, so it's kind of my fault for making that available. But yeah, he couldn't pay rent, so I was forced to put the couch on Airbnb, and immediately it booked out, and it was booked out for a month. So I put one couch on Airbnb, and that paid the mortgage completely and most of the utilities. So I was like, wow, that's awesome. So I put the other couch on, and it was amazing. And then that guy who couldn't pay rent had to leave, so he went to California, and I put his room on there. And then the other roommate had to go back to Brazil, so I put his room on there. So it became this awesome business. I was renting both the rooms, all 3 couches. It was awesome. So
not only did it pay the rent, but you actually made money from it?
Yeah. Wow. Definitely, yeah. And then, and my ex, I bought her car because she went overseas. And so I was driving her Volvo, and then my Nissan Versa, I put that on Turo, which is like Airbnb for car rentals. And then that made us...
And loyal listeners of this podcast will remember when I was in Houston, I rented this cool car on Turo.
Oh, yeah. You can get some crazy awesome cars there. Yeah. That's cool. So yeah, I put that car on Turo, and that paid as much as one of the couches. And then I was like, wait a second, I need a third couch. So I bought a third couch, and I did that too. And then the day I bought that third couch, definitely don't mix business with pleasure. That's something I learned a while ago, but I was young and stupid, and I didn't know that Airbnb would become a business like it has for me. So that third couch, the day I got that third couch, this lady checked in, and I didn't meet her that first night because I was working, I was doing magic shows and everything. But the next day, got to know her. We hung out all day. We worked out together at the gym, everything. I didn't have space for her, but she needed a place for another night. So she upgraded her stay. We ended up dating for like four or 5 months.
You can sleep in my room.
Yeah. And she was great. She really helped me with a lot of things. During that time, I learned and grew a lot as a host, and I learned what not to do. And but I had one guest stay in one of the rooms, and he was like, I love what you're doing with this place. It's amazing. If I buy a place, will you do it there? And I was like, hell yeah. So he bought this one.
Okay.
And then he bought another one right next to mine. Mm-hmm. So I'm managing all 3 right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
If travel is your passion and you want escapism while still upholding your work and family responsibilities, you can travel vicariously from the comfort of your own home. This is the Radio Vagabond podcast.
Yeah, because this is very different from the typical Airbnb. It's almost like a small hostel here. You got 3 sofas that kind of goes as the dorm room, really, and I've got one of the sofas, and then you have 2 private rooms, so it's almost got this, and then you stay here as well.
Yeah, so it's kind of a hybrid of a hotel, hostel. Well, yeah, I'd say hostel. Yeah, and that's what I love about it, because people have, in the reviews, written, it's very much like a hostel, I love this experience, all this stuff. So many reviews have been just paragraphs, like, because of the friends that people have made here. And, I've seen where all 3 people on the couches all end up going to Disney together, and they have a great day, and they didn't even know each other. So it's really cool what happens here. So because of those reviews, when you search Orlando hostel, my listing usually pops up. So that's helped out a lot too.
And then your Turo thing. Let's talk a little bit about that, because you've done something special there.
Yeah, so Turo changed so I didn't realize how great Turo would be initially. It was like, okay, it's a little bit of money, that's cool, but because of the miles driven, it is a business. It's another part of the business. So because of the miles driven, when it comes time to do taxes, you can write those miles off. And that completely offsets, not completely, but almost completely offsets the income from Airbnb.
Oh.
Because of that, I had set aside so much money to pay taxes, and I was expecting to pay all these taxes. And then when I went ahead and did everything the right way, I realized, I don't owe as much as I thought because of that.
Cool. That's cool.
So it's a very complimentary service to offer, and it's also great to offer to the guests.
So actually, the more people drive in your car, the less tax you have to pay.
Exactly. So I want people to put those miles on. Yeah.
Wow.
It's great. So a lot of Turo hosts, they'll be like, oh no, 100-mile maximum per day, because they don't want their cars to. It's like, no, you do want more miles.
But they decrease in value.
Yeah, they depreciate, and that's expected. But the offset is worth it. Generally, and really, you're going to, like, I've already completely paid off all the cars from Turo so far, except for the Tesla, because I just got it.
Well. You all the cars. So you have more than one car.
So 5 right now.
And you got a Tesla.
Yep. So
and you got another Tesla coming in today or tomorrow.
Today or tomorrow. Yeah, probably tomorrow. It sounds like, because it's 11:30 right now, and it'll be tomorrow. But I'm excited for that. The Model S, it's an older one. It's a 2013, but they still rent for similar amount.
So at this time, pre-COVID, Stefan was managing 3 Airbnbs and rented out a few normal cars and 1 Tesla, almost 2, on Turo. Wait till you hear what he has now. At the end of this episode, the business has exploded. And then at this time he had a daily magic show, and then a few things that he normally doesn't talk much about in public. But he will in a minute. When we come back, we'll be talking about professional cuddling, hoping to produce 1,000 children, and his plans for the future, having 1,000 hostels to fund his work on technology that will make us live 500 years and have gills and falcon eyes, plus sending microorganisms to more than 30,000 planets to see which ones will sustain human life, and then sending self-replicating robots to those who will. That and much more to come. Now, how's that for a teaser? We'll be right back. This episode is brought to you in part by this website called hotels25.com. If you're a regular listener, you have heard me mention this before, and I can't say this enough. This is a cool website. It helps you find the cheapest hotel rooms around the world. Hotels25.com. You should try it out. It actually works.
This is the Radio Vagabond podcast.
As I mentioned, Stefan is a magician, and when I stayed with him pre-COVID, I did a short live Facebook video of him doing a trick for me. And I watched this video so many times, and it blows my mind that I can't figure out how he does it. This is the sound from it.
So yeah, those glasses. Can I borrow those?
Yeah, here's my glasses.
Yeah, if you could wiggle your fingers like that.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and say ooh. Ooh. Mm-hmm. Now say ah.
Ah.
Now say ooh.
Ooh.
Whoa. That's
What happens is we're sitting at a glass table with one of the other guests there as well. He takes off my glasses and puts them on the table, and then he starts wiggling his fingers above them. Then he lifts them up, and the glasses defies gravity and flips over. It's just not possible. People have said that, oh, there's a thin hair-like string that isn't visible to the human eye. Others have guessed on magnets. I'll re-upload this video on the Facebook page, facebook.com/The Radio Vagabond. I can't wait to hear your best guess.
You've got a lot of energy and a lot of things going on. Very entrepreneur.
Thank you.
Really, yeah.
Thank you.
And then the magic shows. So, which of the three things? I take it there are there more?
Yeah, there's a couple more. I guess I'll talk about that. Yeah, I usually don't, but why not? Okay, so I tried out Cuddle Comfort to be a professional cuddler.
Oh, I heard about that.
Yeah.
So for people who haven't heard about it, can you explain the concept?
Completely platonic. You wear all your clothes. You just cuddle someone for however much time they need cuddling. And you can meet them at a park bench or at a movie theater, at your house or their house. And yeah, you're just there to just cuddle. That's it. It's just cuddling. And everyone needs physical love. And it's been proven that kids who don't receive physical love versus kids that don't receive food, the kids who don't receive physical love are the ones that die. Because you can survive without food for a long time, but you can't survive without physical love, physical touch. So that's what Cuddle Comfort provides. Yeah.
And you, as you say, it's completely not sexual. It's a good hug.
It's a good hug. That's what it is. But so like generally people charge, I don't know, like different rates and stuff, and it can get kind of expensive. But I made it a little more affordable for the first time I did it. And it was an interesting experience, and I was kind of into this girl at the time, so I felt like I was emotionally and physically cheating, I guess. I don't know. So that's why I am not doing that again, because I just couldn't handle it. But I thought it would be no big deal, but it turned into... Nothing happened, obviously, but it was just a weird feeling. I kept wishing she were the other girl. So that's why I'm not going to do that anymore. But so Cuddle Comfort, donating sperm. So I've been doing that for a couple of years, and I want to have 1,000 kids. I think that would be awesome to have 1,000 kids someday. So my ultimate goal in life is I've got a lot of goals, but my next step after I want to have 1,000 hostels, and then I want to open up Oscorp, which is focusing on longevity, evolution, and the survival of humanity. So longevity. Whoa. So I feel like it would be awesome to live 400 or 500 years. That would be great. You could get so much more done. That would be awesome. And we're figuring out new technologies, new ways to make that more realistic, more possible. And every year we're coming up with new solutions to solve all these different... We can already 3D print lungs and hearts and livers. And
I did not know that.
Yeah.
You can 3D print what?
All your organs, almost. Yeah. Yeah.
Including the heart?
Yeah, the heart, yeah. That was the first one. Heart and lungs were the first.
So you don't really need organ donors anymore?
No, not really. No.
That's insane.
Yeah. And then evolution. I think it would be cool to, have falcon eyes, have gills, have things like that. Just speeding up the effects of evolution. Just kind of being able to edit your genes a little bit. Choose eye color. Choose pigmentation. Yeah, things like that.
A lot of people are kind of, that's not right.
Yeah, it's not natural. Yeah, but I don't know. So that's I feel like that could be those two things could be lucrative and fun and amazing for humanity. So for Oscorp, I want to focus on those two things first, but I want everything that I create in this world to really go to the third thing, which is the survival of humanity. And I think we need to make a bunch of pods with microorganisms and bacteria, and we need to send them to 30,000 plus planets and see which ones develop atmospheres that could sustain human life in the future, and then send pods of cryofrozen clone zygotes to those planets that will populate those planets, and then have self-replicating robots that will, terraform the planets.
I am so excited I got to know you. It's so insane. But so that's how you're going to solve the thing with the overpopulation of the planet. Because when we're 500 years old, it's going to be a problem. It's already a problem now, but it's going to be even more in the future.
Yeah.
Where are people going to stay? In one of your 1,000 hostels.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, something that does come up a lot is, like, if you can live to be indefinitely, if you can live indefinitely, who will live indefinitely? And of course, that'll be the super rich, the super powerful, and maybe the super greedy. So are those the right people to be around forever? I don't know. So, there's some moral things going on with that. But
I'm sure you'll crack that one too.
I don't know if I will. But so there's just a lot of things to think about there. But I think it'll happen eventually anyways, because we're going that direction. I just would like to help it happen faster. That's why I want 1,000 hostels, so that can finance Oscorp, and then I can bring people together and solve all problems, not just those three things, but anything that people come up with. It's a huge problem for humanity. If we could get together and brainstorm and solve. I like solving problems. It's fun.
Wow. Right? The way Stefan Oswald's mind works reminds me of a guy who founded PayPal, SpaceX, Tesla, and just comes up with crazy ideas constantly. How can I invest in Oscorp, as he called it? As I mentioned, he hasn't started the 1,000 hostel plan, but so much else has happened. Let's get back to Stefan for an update. This is as fresh as it gets. It was recorded a week ago here in August 2021. I was back in Orlando, and Stefan offered me to stay at his new house that's officially called the Magic Mansion. Google it.
So, Stefan, that was then, and this is now. In between my visit to you the last time, we've had a pandemic, and anything happened in your life?
A few things, that's for sure. Last time...
We're not in the same place.
No, not at all. This is the Magic Mansion, so yeah.
And literally, it's on the wall, the Magic Mansion, and when I found it on Google Maps, it was there as the Magic Mansion.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so the idea was to have a place for magicians to learn and grow and help each other out. COVID kind of stifled that a little bit, but we'll get to it eventually. Right now, we're using it as a place for a whole other business. So.
And back then, you were a little bit in the Airbnb business, and you had one Tesla, I think, and said that you want to get another one to rent out on Turo. So what happened? And you did the magic show, daily magic show that I went to. It was amazing. And so out of those three things, where are we with that? First, the magic.
So the magic, I had a great time. I performed at the Great Magic Hall for 3 years. It was incredible. I continued to perform all over the world doing random shows, but then every show got canceled on March 16th of last year. So that's when I had to transition from the vacation rentals and magic shows as my primary income sources to car rentals. So we have 6 Teslas now, and
you partnered up with Robert, who's also living here in the Magic Mansion.
Yep. So Robert is a fellow magician who met me at the show, and then he was doing Airbnb in a similar way that I was, and we decided to collaborate and work together, and then we grew this other business with the Polaris slingshots as well, and that's taken off. It's pretty nice.
We got a few Teslas and a few slingshots. Can we go outside? Because people who don't know what a slingshot is, I saw them for the first time when I was in Miami South Beach. They were driving all over, and it's to describe it, it's an open kind of sports car with big wheels and only 3 wheels.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a trike. One wheel in the back, 2 wheels in the front. Looks kind of like a Batmobile.
Yeah,
and
it does.
all the curves, all the angles, and yeah, people, they can't get enough of these. So it's fun.
So, and you still have a few Teslas?
Yeah, so we've got the 6 Teslas now. This Model X we wrapped purple, and it changes. It's a chameleon wrap, so it'll change to gold with the sunlight. I don't know if you can see that right now, the hood. Yeah, and then the Model 3, those 2 are my favorites. Because the slingshots are doing so well, we might sell the other 4 Teslas and just get a bunch of more slingshots.
So how many slingshots do you have?
We have 35 that we're operating right now. We will have 67 in the next couple weeks. Yeah.
So that is the main part of your business right now.
For sure. Yeah. It's become the main thing.
Yeah. And it's called Sling Kings.
Sling Kings. Yes.
Yeah.
Because rhyming is fun.
It is. And by the way, we were trying to describe it, and obviously I'll have a photo of this on the blog. So go to the radiovagabond.com and find that. So, and what about the Airbnbs? I guess that took a bit of a hit during COVID.
Yeah, sure did. So I had to transition all the Airbnbs from short-term rentals to long-term rentals, and I kept doing by the room, so it worked out. I was able to find people on Facebook Marketplace, interviewed some people, moved them in, and that same week we filled every space with long-termers. So worked out.
How many was that?
Oh, it was 24 long-term guests. Yeah. So it was a lot of work up front, but then they kind of managed themselves after that.
And you said that you stopped doing the daily shows, but just yesterday you did your first show for a very long time.
Yeah, my first show since March of 2020, and it was incredible. It was a fun time. Yeah, I wasn't sure how it would go because who knows, but it was.
You still have the magic.
Yeah, still got the magic touch, I guess. Yep, and it was a more drunk audience than I was expecting, but I was able to manage. It was a good time. And
so you came home and say there's a pro tip for magicians: don't get somebody too drunk on stage.
Yes, for sure. Just look out for how they're balancing when they're standing, and if they're needing a wall to stand, don't invite them up on stage. That's one of the things I forgot about last night. But yeah.
But you're also planning to take a year out where you become more nomadic. Tell me a little bit about that, because that's so exciting.
I'm ready to be a traveling vagabond as well. Yeah, so I want to do 52 countries in 52 weeks. That's the goal on the onset, but it could change for sure, as things do. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm planning right now, and hiring people to get me booked up. So I've done something similar in Europe. I did, it was only 2 months, but it was still a bunch of countries in those 2 months, a bunch of different cities, and I did street magic, and it was a great time as a busker doing street magic. But now doing actual stage magic or theater magic, I'll get booked up ahead of time, all the tickets will be sold, and I'll just show up and do my thing. So my goal is to not have to worry about all that behind the scenes stuff. And just
will you be able to go to some very exotic places where they might not even speak English? Because I know a lot of the magic is about distracting me by saying something that my eyes are over here and your hand is doing something over there.
Yes.
Yeah, I got you.
Very much so. So the show that I'm writing is very much comedy based, so it's a lot of words, but physical comedy as well. And I want to have almost the same show play for both English speakers or to music as the background. So the whole show could be just music in the background and be doing it and using kind of sign language, body language to suggest what the audience should do in certain situations. So yeah.
But do you plan to do some street magic as well and maybe film that?
For sure, yeah. I'll do some street magic. I'll do during the week. I'll probably do the street magic, and then the weekends I want to have the shows booked up. So yeah, I can't not do magic. If I'm walking around, it's gonna happen.
Yeah. And it's gonna take you all over the world, both Europe and Asia and South America.
Europe, Asia, South America, probably a little Africa. Definitely want to go to the eastern side of the world that I've never been to before. So, and I want to end up in the rest of the U.S., like Hawaii and Alaska, I've never been to. We were talking about.
Yeah, me too.
Save North Dakota for last, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out. But so I just want to see it all.
Yeah, and we need to stay in touch because it might be in the same continent at the same time, and that would be a lot of fun to meet for the third time.
Yes, for sure.
And outside of your home base.
Yes, for sure.
One final question. In this episode, I told them about what you did with my glasses on the table. You made a flip up, and I had so many people guessing. So, how did you do it?
All right, you guys ready to find out? And I hope you can keep a secret, because so can I. Sorry.
Yeah, obviously.
But if you want to learn magic, so Magic Trick Guy, that's me on social. I'll be posting some instructional videos. I'm not going to teach that glasses thing right away. That's not mine to teach. But I will teach some other things that I have come up with myself, and also some things that are kind of open domain in the magic world, like some rubber band tricks that it's fine to teach, because you have to start somewhere. So it's okay to learn simple coin tricks and card tricks to start with before paying those magicians who have put in the hours.
So again, how? What was the name of it? Where do we find it?
Magic Trick Guy on Instagram. I'll definitely be posting some links on there. I believe I secured Magic Trick Guy on YouTube as well. I just haven't posted to it yet. So
can I suggest themagicvagabond.com?
The Magic Vagabond. I like that. That's it. That'll be it. The Magic Vagabond. All right. We got it. It's official.
So cool.
And that's it for Season 6 of the Radio Vagabond. In this season, we've been mostly in the US with a visit to Canada and Mexico, but all of it in North America. The next season is going to be different in that respect. We're going to many different countries and even many different continents. You can join me in Guatemala, Bali, El Salvador, Caribbean, Andorra, Uruguay, Yellowstone National Park, Rio de Janeiro, and many other exciting places. It's going to be a whole new experience listening to the Radio Vagabond in the future, and I can't wait to share it. Season 7 starts in September. My name is Palle, and I gotta keep moving. See ya.
Produced by radioguru.co.uk.